recovering. I am on day 16 of having my tonsils removed. I had a tonsillectomy and adenoid removal, and the recovery was horrible. It was the worst thing I've ever experienced, but I also believe this could have been avoided. African American women are often disregarded in the medical profession. I say this, the reason I want to share my story is because recently a young lady named ShaAsia Washington died in Brooklyn giving childbirth because the doctors ignored her symptoms. She had preeclampsia, which my mother had when she was pregnant with me, and it runs in my family. This is something that could have been prevented if doctors would have took her seriously. Serena Williams also had this issue when she had her child. She discussed doctors not taking her seriously and taking her pain seriously. And I think that it is a big issue. Obviously, in the climate that we're in, it's important to find doctors that really care for your well-being. There's a study that I saw that said 40% of nursing students / doctors believe that African Americans have thicker skin than white people. That is absurd. That kind of thinking puts us in danger every day when we go to the doctor. I'm going to share my story. I went through the same thing of doctors neglecting me, and I thought it was because I was young, but now looking back, I think it was because I was African American. They did not take me seriously, like at all. So 4 years ago, I started having pains in my throat. I went to the doctor on a Sunday, and since I have a lot of allergies, they told me I was having an allergic reaction and sent me home with some medicine. So I took the medicine. I went to work on Monday. I went to work on Tuesday. Tuesday, I was in a lot of pain, and I went to the ER again, and they told me that maybe I had strep throat. So they swabbed my throat and sent me back home. Wednesday I go to work, Thursday I go to work, I'm still in pain. They told me the lab results for strep throat was negative. So by Thursday, I can barely talk. So I go to work again, can't talk. I go to the ER because the pain is unbearable. I feel like I'm swallowing knives. I can't even bear to swallow my own spit. So I have a spit cup that I'm spitting into, which is disgusting because I can't swallow my own spit. It's just painful. I go to the ER on Thursday and they tell me I have tonsillitis, but I have to wait till my tonsils swell up to get it taken out. This was Florida Hospital on Fletcher and Bruce B. Downs in Tampa, Florida. Complete disregard for my life. At Friday, I wake up in the morning in tears because the pain is so unbearable. I went to work again, and I left work early that day and went home to lay down, praying that when I woke up, the pain was gonna be gone. I laid down, and I don't know if I laid the wrong way, but something in my neck shifted and I couldn't breathe. It felt like somebody had their hands around my throat and was choking me, like literally I could not breathe. So I get up and I start coughing, and I literally have to take my tongue and hold it down so that I can breathe. My whole throat is like closing up. So I start coughing. I'm coughing up mucus, coughing up blood, because I hadn't eaten anything all week, so there was nothing left to come out of my stomach. So I'm just coughing and everything's coming up. And thank God, 2 of my friends happened to be staying with me, and they were moving out that same day, but they just so happened to be coming back. They just so happened to be coming back to the house at the same time that I was having an episode, and they were able to rush me to the hospital, which was right across the street from where I live. So I go back to the ER. This is the 4th time I've been there in a week, the same people, and I'm determined that I'm not gonna leave there the same way. Like, there's no way I'm gonna leave there the same way. When I got to the ER, I was basically dead. I was fatigued, I couldn't breathe. It was really horrible. It was just a very bad experience. They put me in the ER, still taking their time. A few doctors come in and try to get me to open my mouth. I can't open my mouth. Then some brilliant doctor, maybe he was off all week, ordered a CT scan on me. He took a CT scan and they found an abscess the size of a half a baseball in my throat. Like, I don't understand how nobody could see that, but my throat was swollen from the outside, so I don't understand how they missed that the whole week, because it had been growing all week. It grew. It probably was small at the beginning of the week, but by the end of the week, it had grew to the size of a half a baseball. So I had a peritonsillar abscess in my throat that they had missed all week, and it grew so big that I couldn't breathe. So immediately they start panicking and prepping me for surgery. The nurses are horrible. I have very bad veins, so the nurses were digging for blood in my veins. My hands are all bruised. They had to use the EKG to find a vein. They had to use the EKG to find a vein in me because they dug for blood out of my hand. It was bruised. This side was bruised because every time I came to the doctor that week, they had pulled blood from there. This arm was just weak because I hadn't eaten anything, so I really didn't have a proper blood supply. But nurses should never be digging for veins. Like, I'm not even a nurse, and I know that. Anywho, they brought an EKG and found a random vein in my arm. So, mind you, I'm in college. I'm by myself. My parents are thousands of miles away. My dad is in Texas at MegaFest, and my mom, is her birthday. She's celebrating her birthday in Alabama, and they're trying to prep me for an emergency room surgery, and I'm by myself. I could have had time to prepare for this if somebody would have caught the diagnosis right the first time. Thankfully, God always places me with the best friends. I have the best people around me. When they said that I was going into surgery, it was a Friday night. I called my homegirl, and she was at the club, but she left the club so quick to come be by my side while I have surgery. I've never had surgery before. I'm scared. I'm in pain. I don't know what to do. So I had my friend call my dad and tell them I'm being rushed to surgery. And I can imagine what my parents was thinking then, like, your child was fine and all of a sudden they being rushed into an ER surgery. It was ridiculous. So the doctor, she told us that I could get my tonsils out or I could just get the abscess out. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm in pain. You did not consult my parents after I said call my parents. And when she did call my parents, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm just ready to have surgery. So we were not given the proper guidance on what she should have did. That doctor should have took out my tonsils at that moment, because my tonsils is what flared up the abscess. But no, they just took out the abscess and left my tonsils in. Oh, and side note, she retired the next day. So when I had my follow-up appointment, the surgeon wasn't even the person who looked at my throat. Having to go through this without my family and my parents with me was tough. It was hard. I'm not even gonna lie. That's why in all this corona stuff going on, if you get corona, if you get sick, you will be in the hospital by yourself, and it is no fun. I promise, it's no fun being by yourself. When I finally got out of surgery, I got into the room and had a panic attack. I had a bad reaction to the anesthesia. Obviously, I wasn't prepared for surgery, so the anesthesiologist probably just gave me any dose. I don't even know what kind of dose, because they didn't know what I had eaten. They didn't ask me no preliminary questions. I don't know, but when I woke up, I had a really bad reaction to anesthesia. I guess my heart was skipping beats, or I don't know, something happened with my heart during surgery. So they had to keep me in the hospital for 2 days and monitor my heart. I had to go see a cardiologist. All this extra health stuff that could have been avoided in the first place if somebody would have properly diagnosed me. I guess my heart was beating irregular. I literally felt like I was in a crazy house. Like, I just wanted all this stuff off of me. It was too much for a simple peritonsillar abscess. This was too much. So obviously I'm throwing a tantrum. They put me out because they couldn't hold me down. So when I was finally discharged, I get home, I start taking the medicine. How about they sent me home with antibiotics I'm allergic to? So I take the pills and I immediately break out in hives. Everything in hives, everything's gone. So I had to be rushed back to the hospital as soon as I left. Like the next day, I had to be rushed back to the hospital Mind you, I don't have no veins. They're supposed to be giving me the stuff so that my hives could go away, but I don't have any veins because they bruised them all. So I'm just like, at this point, please kill me. I'm in too much pain. Just please kill me, because I cannot do this no more with these horrible nurses digging for veins. Like, I just don't know. So anywho, I went back to the doctor. I had to stay for the rest of that day until the hives go down and everything was good, and they prescribed me new medication that I'm not allergic to. Pay attention to my medical records. That's like really all they had to do. One thing I can say is thank God for insurance. I recovered from that, but at least once a year my tonsils would flare up again. So I live in DC now. I no longer live in Florida. I would have never went back to Florida Hospital anywho, but I'm in DC now, and I really love Inova. They take real good care of me. I've had a surgery there and it's been well. So I have a doctor up here who said next time my tonsils flare up that they needed to come out. So every year we say the same thing, but like 3 weeks ago my tonsils flared up again and I was just over it. I was just done, and my doctor said, okay, let's take them out. I wanted to go and have surgery where my parents live, because my parents, ain't nobody gonna take care of you like your parents are, and I would never put the burden on my friends now to take care of me, even though I know that they would. I have good friends, but I would rather be with my parents. So because I'm scared of the way hospitals have treated me in the past, I found me a minority female ENT doctor named Dr. Nicole Thea, and I went and seen her in Alabama. I googled the top ENT doctors in Alabama and she was number 2, and I know someone who had surgery from her and they had a good experience with her. So I went to her doctor's office 2 weeks ago, and she saw me and said my tonsils need to come out, and she took them out 3 days later. No issues, no anything. Of course recovery was hard, but I went to the doctor down there. I had my surgery at Crestwood Hospital in Huntsville, Alabama. The anesthesiologists were great. The nurses were great. My ear, nose, and throat doctor, she did an amazing job on my surgery. The recovery was horrible, but the process was great. I felt like I was taken care of and that people wanted to know what was best for me. One thing I like that Crestwood did is, I am a huge baby when it comes to getting blood drawn or getting my IV put in. They numb the area. I love that. So before they ever stuck an IV in me anywhere, they numbed the area first. That was amazing. And actually, one thing did go wrong while I was in the hospital. Because I had bad veins, they put an IV on the side of my arm. I knew it felt funny at first, but I know I had bad veins, so I didn't complain. But I told my nurse that I felt uncomfortable about where my IV was, and she said, okay, I'm gonna come monitor it every 5 minutes. She came and looked at it. And in 10 minutes my arm was swollen up because my blood was clotting up. She immediately moved the IV and found another place to put the IV in. The fact that she checked on me and listened to me when I said that I was uncomfortable made me feel like so much better having my surgery there. It was an overall great experience. It's so hard to come by good doctors like that. I'm just grateful that I was able to finally get my tonsils out because I was tired of being sick. I just want to share my testimony because I think that a lot of women go unheard with the way that doctors treat them. Not saying that everyone everywhere doesn't care about the well-being of African American women, but I feel like people are the least concerned about African American women. We are the demographic that is the most unheard, and I feel like if more women share their story, then more things can change. But something that I think can change this is if we get more of our people into the medical profession. That's the only way things and biases like this will change, because African American skin is not thicker than white people's skin. We don't have a higher pain tolerance. We have the same issues that you have. We should be prescribed the same medicine that white people are prescribed. There's no reason there should be a difference. And it's important to find doctors that take your pain seriously. But I'm alive now. I'm recovering. My voice is not all the way where it should be, but I am recovering. I can still only eat soft food, so ice cream it is for me. Ice cream and mashed potatoes. But thank you guys for all the love and prayers and support. I have a great support system, and I appreciate every last one of you. The people who brought gifts to the house, I appreciate all of that.